This is the first episode of my podcast called Only Human. This podcast is centered around having authentic and vulnerable conversations. The first guest in my podcast is my friend Nick Weber. Nick is the creator and writer of Wholly Human, a blog intended to explore the ideas, emotions, and experiences that define the human experience. If you want to work on bettering your principles and explore character growth, or just want to explore some of the things that make us human, then click the link in the description below. One of my, hotter takes is claiming that being obese nowadays is obviously as prevalent as it's ever been. 42-ish% of all American adults are considered obese, which is insane. And, those factors that have, given rise to that number, we could talk about, but for now, I think obesity has been shifted to something that used to be considered as a byproduct of bad habits, like you just being lazy, you not handling emotions or stress well. But I don't know what year it was, but within the past 5 years, I think the being obese has been added to the DSM-5. So I don't know if that's considered like a psychological disorder, but obesity has been added into the DSM-5. So it's like an officially recognized mental condition, I guess, leading to that. So for me, having lived through it, I would totally understand that. For me personally, I see it as an addiction, and that's obviously compounded with being conditioned to eat that way. So for me, I was that weight for, since I can remember. So for me, I've been conditioned my entire life. My, emotional support and my ways to cope since day one, since I've, been experienced in reality, have been centered and molded around going to food for support. So for me to break that habit was really hard. And I think it's a little bit different for someone who just kind of gained like 30 pounds during college. And their relationship with food, started off kind of healthy, up until college. And, once they got there, things like drinking could have been an issue where they just gained weight because of that. And their ability to kind of like get grounded and make a plan to lose weight is probably much more doable than someone who's been obese their entire life.
Yeah.
So obviously, the addicting factors of food is that, things like sugar are confirmed addicting. I mean, I think you can construe anything as being addicting, but things like sugar for sure, I've had like actual withdrawal effects. I know when I was first losing weight, I went through like 5-day periods where I would like have the worst mental fog, where I couldn't do like any work and definitely would have no energy for a bit. And I don't know if this is like a withdrawal sort of thing, but I had like flu-like symptoms for a while when I first started losing weight. And I know people get flu-like symptoms when they do keto, but that's just because their body has no carbs. But for me, I didn't do keto and I still had flu-like symptoms. So I've had a lot of withdrawal symptoms that were only treated when I ate the foods that
When was that? Like senior year? Like when?
No, this was sophomore year when I first started. So, and that was also an issue because I overestimated the calories on the grilled chicken. So it was like I was eating 800. So I went from probably like 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day to 800. And
I probably underestimated it. So that's good.
Yeah. So that's
hold on. Tell me again what your max weight ever was.
321 pounds.
Okay.
And I think I was like 5'11" or 6 foot. And now I'm like 195, 6'2". Yes, sir.
And you said obesity has been officially classified as a mental illness, or at least effects of it are.
Like a mental disorder. I need to pull that up. I'll pull it up when I'm editing this.
Yeah,
I'll
because
probably
it's
overlay
interesting in that I'm not anorexic, never was, but on the other end of the spectrum, weight issues for skinny people, I think, are also classified as like a mental illness, or at least there are the effects of it present there that cause, I guess, that reaction and that physical development.
You're right. So you're talking about like eating disorders as a whole?
Yeah, like I remember watching in your videos where you talk about like for a lot of people, food is like either a comforting or protective outlet for them. Well, I don't know. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, if there's any sort of elevated cortisol, like thinking about food, or like even getting food in your hand, or even putting food in your mouth before you even actually like ingest it, has an immediate effect. So it's like the
Right.
taste immediately, like it's honestly like, there were some points where it was not like euphoric. Like, I'm not gonna say when I overate, sometimes it was euphoric, but it was like, it had a profound anxiolytic, I guess would be the best way to describe it, effect. So
Was your do you think like the problem people have is that they mistake that, like you're alluding to, that chemical response, and they're sort of misassociating it with some sort of like mental not achievement, but
wait, what do you mean? Like, wait,
like,
repeat that.
so there's when people overindulge in specific foods that, like, we would like maybe call them comfort foods. You're stressed out, so you get a dozen donuts or whatever, and you just pound them on the weekend or whatever.
Right.
Like, do you think the reason it's so hard for people to do what you did is because they misconstrue that chemical response of that satisfaction and like getting that type of energy in your body, and they misconstrue it as some sort of like a mental, I guess, not achievement, but like something they deserve?
Oh, I see what you mean. So it's
Or
like a
that like there's
rewards,
a
like,
dependency on it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
reward system.
So yeah, it's like I definitely think that it's definitely confirmed. I did read a study that people who are obese, they measured it in, wait, no, it was sugar in rats, and they
Okay.
had like the same effect as like cocaine in terms of just like destroying your reward system.
Yeah.
So I think it's for definitely people who are my weight, there's no such thing as a reward system. It's like, there was no leading up to it. It was instant gratification and comfort foods. Like, almost everything was a comfort food. There was no like, oh, this weekend I can't wait to go home and have like my mom make me this. It was like,
Right.
no, it was like, I need my fix now. So
Yeah.
it's
What did you
definitely,
eat?
yeah,
What was your stuff?
it was, dude, it was, that's actually a funny question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that.
I think it's
I did-
interesting because, like, even as a skinny person, like, I sort of remember doing that stuff of like going back, even in college, going back to the dorm room, being like, oh my god, like class sucked today. I'm tired, or I'm hungover and I don't want to do my work, and you like pound a bag of chips or something.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, like, I think that's healthy, to be honest. Like, that's just like a little bit like
Interesting.
getting some like snacks, like to get some, some of your energy back. But for me, like, mine was like genuinely binge eating. And for me, it's like the frequency of what you just described happened to me like every hour. Like, I had an excuse to kind of do the same thing. So if it's like, if I hit a roadblock in my chemistry lab report, just for example, it would be like, all right, like I can't think, because if I hit any sort of like roadblock where I needed to kind of like step up and, like do some work, it'd be like, well, I kind of need like something to eat to get like the incentive up front, basically, like some incentive up front. But like in high school, that wasn't even, dude, we would go to Applebee's, like after our football games, we'd go to Applebee's, and I would have like at least 3,000 calories alone just after 10 p.m. like at Applebee's. And then we would go to like Sheetz or Speedway. Actually, I wouldn't even like take my friends. Sometimes I would, but like I would go alone to a gas station. I would get like Sour Patch Kids and like a Mountain Dew Tall Boy, and that alone was like 2,000 calories. And sometimes I would get 2 Sour Patch Kids. So that was just like, so that was just after 10 p.m. I would have like 5,000 calories like almost every Friday night. And it's so weird because I couldn't even allow myself to hit like 3,000 calories without that tripping something and being like, okay, like I need to like, there were no filters. So I don't think it's anything like I'm trying to think of like an equivalent, but it was like an itch, and to sit with the itch meant that you couldn't do anything else. So it's like,
You
yeah,
mean
like your
the
whole
sensation of like you
the
need
urge to
it.
eat. Yeah. So it was just super unhealthy where it's like for you it's like, yeah, like dude, I just want to sit down and eat some food. But for me it was like I won't do anything until like I am completely 100% satisfied and I'm full and I'm almost like disgusted with myself. Another example would be sorry, keep
That's
going.
for me. That's what, as like a very very thin person who wanted to gain weight and gain muscle mass and all that. That's how I would feel about eating like all the time.
Oh really?
Is that yeah? If I were eating and at least for the moment became full or whatever, that to eat any more would be like sickening.
Okay. So you hit that threshold way sooner than I did, is what you're saying.
So much sooner. But I'd also be hungrier quicker. I
Okay.
guarantee it.
Okay.
Like 15 minutes after I like sit down to eat a meal, I would eat again.
Okay.
I would snack or something like that.
But it'd be like small? So it'd always be small though.
Yeah, I could say I could probably eat more small portions across the whole day rather than sitting down to have a lot of anything.
Okay. That makes sense.
But it
And I
is that
wonder, okay, keep going. My bad.
I think it's interesting, like the psychological effect of that, of people like who have two polarizing goals in their personal like physical health, that like eating like that. For me, the opposite incentive is to push beyond that sickness, but yours, as you said, the incentive was to go up to it, to like get to that feeling as a
Yeah.
sort of satisfaction. It's
That is, yeah, kind of wild. Oh yeah, by the way, you might want to tell your height and weight and like what your body goals are, just so you know. I mean, they're
yeah.
basically the opposite of mine, but like keep going.
Well, how you're 6'2", right?
6'2", went from 321 to 195, and now I'm gonna start lifting. But you're like your transformation is different than mine. You're also a tall dude.
Yeah. 6'4". I think six
Yeah,
three,
yeah.
6'4". Currently like 165,
Okay.
but that's because I've been running so much, because I have to run for the Marines. But I remember it was probably, you started losing weight really junior year though, right?
No, I went from 320 to 270 sophomore year, and then and over the summer I lost like 20 pounds, and then from junior year I went from 270 to 230, and then over the summer I went to 215, and then my
Okay.
senior year I stayed at 215.
So, well, junior year was like around winter break. Actually, on winter break was when I fully committed to gaining weight and
Okay.
gaining muscle mass, to look better. And I don't even know how to describe it. It's weird that the goals and where we're at now are so different. But I was just talking to someone about this at the gym today. Like, there's a sort of like mental resolution you need to have with yourself to convince yourself, or as you said, incentivize yourself to do the opposite behavior of what you've been doing to get there. So I just started like drinking calories, eating calories, lifting regularly. And that was my fitness like goals up until now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were those goals driven? I mean, this can be a mix, obviously, but were they like strictly? You said, oh yes, they were strictly vanity driven for the time. You said that, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, like for your career, you sort of want to gain actual strength and all those things, right?
Yeah. I think it might be one of, if not the foundational element of why people of any type want to pursue like a fitness aspiration or like a physical goal is that almost always they want to just look better. And it's only once you fully committed to actually making it happen and you realize what it takes and what it costs to keep it up is when you start to change the reason why you do that.
I agree. Yeah.
Like I was working out today with a friend at the gym who he's probably the exact same situation as I was in, where he wants to gain weight and gain muscle to look better. And he says it's really hard. But once you start like getting your weight up and you start getting, like you said early on, you get compliments from other people for how different you look. You sort of satisfy that initial goal of yours, and you open up new ones based on your new physical capability.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I think people who make excuses to not do it because of what other people look like, they need to understand is that if I were giving you advice, which I have before, or someone like you, so let's say someone like you, and I'm giving them advice, they may say, well, it's so much easier for you. Look how skinny you are. Like it's just, it all comes down to the personal resolution of just being able to want to do it, because everyone has some sort of physical way they want to look or some physical level that they want to perform at. I think that's the number one thing people need to know about the weight gain or weight loss process.
Yeah. You need to have a clear vision for what you want, and it needs to be like rooted deeply in your values. So whether like it doesn't even matter if it's vain or not, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's personal achievement. It's not like, you know, you're not encroaching on anyone else, you know. So for me, it was never exactly health, because I talked about one of my videos when I did my EKG and my vitals and, you know, my cholesterol levels and all that stuff. All those things were like really low and like in their healthy ranges, which was like a complete surprise. So for me, that wasn't my like moment of epiphany. And to be honest, like, I don't think, even if doctors told me like I would like be dying like soon, I don't even know if that would have lit a fire under my ass. Like, there are reasons that you want to change. Like, you know, if you're a person who's overweight and you're struggling, or you're scrawny, you'd be like, wow, ideally I would be, you know, less weight, or I would weigh less, or, you know, have more muscle mass. But you can't really pin what that actual moment of epiphany is going to be. And because like for me it was so weird. Like for me it was a picture that I was taking and I saw it, and I looked at so many pictures of me, and I hated them, but that picture in particular is because you were next to me and I was
you should put that up.
So, and that's like, that picture shook me, because that entire time I always thought that I was small, but I was just viewing myself. But I'll tell you, like, I genuinely thought that I was small. So when you came around, honestly, who knows where I would be right now. But so it's like, not only do you need like the personal achievement, but you need life itself to show you. You need to pay attention and all those things. Like, you need to actually like reflect and be like, why does this picture make me feel so uncomfortable? So if you just throw it to the side, you know what I mean? Like, you have to reflect. But
that's one thing I really, really agree with. Like, I remember at John Carroll, after I had been lifting for maybe 3 months, like on a program, like very consistently, and having excess calories. So I was gaining size. I remember playing soccer on the quad, and a friend I hadn't seen in like maybe like 2 months or something, like walked by and was like, Weber, is that you? And I was like, yeah, like, what's up, man? He's like, you look so different. Like, you look bigger. And I was like, awesome, thanks. But it's one of the things you've alluded to before in your videos about the way people judge us, like based on the way we look to them initially.
Yeah. like just like first impressions and like how that actually like
Yeah,
works.
and I think
Yeah.
what you just said like totally informs that in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like for me, not that like my view of you changed per se, but like for me, like I don't know how I want to like articulate this. So you have to. I think all of these journeys are also like part of the tinder to like the fire of starting these is that at some level I feel like on all of these journeys, I mean definitely not all of them, but like I think you care more about what other people think at the start than you do at the end, and that's necessary. Like for you
Yeah,
to be like because I didn't like you would probably would not because you said you want to look better. Like why would you want to look better if like no one else existed? It's like but like as
yep,
you went on, you're like wait a minute, like this is like I have like a level of self respect I've never had before. Like
yeah,
my integrity is way higher.
1000%. Yep,
Yeah. So for me, it's like you said before, it's kind of like a snowball effect where you're getting these compliments, and then you're like, wait a minute, like it's kind of deeper than this. Like it's
for
good to
sure.
get that affirmation there, but like the level of respect I have for myself now and like my goal setting, all those things. So it's like it's like affirmation from others, like self respect, and like it kind of like that kind of
Yeah,
inversely proportional almost. So
I mean it's
yeah,
yeah, I 100% agree, and there's I guess maybe to not dive too deep into like the usual philosophical conversations we have, but the whole mental aspect of pursuing goals that are at first at the rudimentary level strictly physical is like doing that opens doors because it's something you control entirely even if you don't think you do at first. Like you thought you were condemned to be 300 whatever pounds forever.
oh yeah, my victim, yeah, yeah,
Until the day you decided that I'm not going to do that.
yeah,
And same with me. And so not only does it like, it's so much more than just my self-respect
yeah.
is greater, but it's like, it's a whole launching platform of opportunity, like in the dating pool, in the job pool, in just your social life broadly in general. Or, I mean, it really is amazing.
Yeah, I'll just say this because my most recent video series that I've been uploading is called "How My Life Changed," and I think it's supposed to be the thing that I'm like supposed to be making as much as I can because, um, when people are losing weight, I mean, this goes for anyone who's making a change. They usually spend too much time preparing and like, okay, well, what's the best way to do this? When like
Yeah,
at some level, you're like, I know enough, but like I'm just like, it's like mental masturbation, basically, like those types of
yeah,
things where it's like, judging other people, like things like that. But like that's basically the same thing where like you're kind of you're just too scared to start. You just gotta
yeah.
jump.
It's
But the thing is though, is that like it's besides the self respect, just the videos that I made, it's accountability that goes up the roof because you
mhm.
realize that your progress is directly proportional to how accountable you are. Like if you sit around and be like, let me wait for someone to accommodate me, or let me wait for someone to like sort of
Or tell
let
me
me
to
just
do
put my
it.
thoughts. Yeah, so it's like like let me
Yeah,
put my thoughts elsewhere. Like I wonder, I can't go home because my parents have junk food around and like they don't want to like fix that for me, so it's like every time I go home I went home again. But it's like no, it's like if
right.
you were accountable you'd be like, okay, well either if I really can't control myself there, then I need to step away or like change the dynamic somehow. So you're always in control, so you realize the control and the accountability. For me, I know one of the biggest things was compassion. So I was super judgmental of other people who were my weight, and that was also just mental masturbation. Like I was just like that was just cathartic, and I was like, obviously even then I kind of knew that I was distracting myself. So your
Yeah,
compassion for other people in the same spot as you go down the journey, you're like, yeah, this is hard and this is like a dedication, so
yeah.
it
I
may
would
be some
agree.
surprise. So yeah, besides self-respect, accountability, um delaying gratification, all of those things, like there are just so many things that go both sides, whether it's what you're
Yeah,
doing or what I'm doing. So
that's a good way of putting it.
yeah,
I,
but yeah, keep going.
I think going back to that one point, I think it's really interesting about what you said about the way people prepare for it is like, it's not even just in weight loss, like it's with a lot of things that people do in their life, is that like when they want to prepare for something, they're obsessed with it being perfect or it being like in the most ideal sense. Like for me, they're like weightlifters or fighters or whatever who like I want to look like or like emulate the physical capability that they can do. But getting from point A to not even point B to point Z is like, it takes an astronomical amount of effort, which is why you just have to do it.
Yeah, it's all about just jumping in.
Like I guarantee when you were now looking where you are now, it was all downhill, but I guarantee you gained weight in between.
Oh, you mean at some point, like what do you mean like gain weight? Just like I went like
you said junior year, you went from 270 to 235.
Yeah.
I guarantee one day when you're at 265 or something, you went back up to 267 or something. I guarantee.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not linear at all. Like there are
and that's something people don't understand. Like people do not understand that.
Yeah, and those are actually like, they are like every single one of those setbacks, like if you pay attention to them and reflect, they are golden nuggets of knowledge. Because those sort of setbacks, like if your journey went perfect and then you came to the end and then you got tested once, the chances of you going all the way back are super high. But like you had like tons of minor setbacks, but you learn more and more. So like your the corrections over time showed that in like my progression.
Absolutely.
So like to get discouraged of those, it's like, obviously they suck. Like that's understandable, but like.
Well, that like okay, I've been running 6 days a week for a month and a half now. And today I had probably the worst physical feeling run I've ever had for my 3 mile time. On Mondays I run for 3 mile time. Today, once I got halfway through, I decided that like I'm just gonna finish. Like my legs aren't moving, like they're full of lactic acid, like I'm too tired. When I finished and I looked at the time, the baseline for the 3 mile was 23 minutes, which when I started, my baseline was like 26.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that element that people don't understand, is that as change is happening, like you're already growing. And on the other,
maintain a sense of perspective.
But on the other hand, if you give in to eating or you don't go to the gym, you could also be declining steadily in the other direction too, which is what people are like. They're in that element all the time already.
Right. Yeah, they exist in that.
Like you don't have a choice. Like you're going to go one way or the other. It's only when you decide you're going to go the other way is when it happens.
Right.
Very interesting. I completely agree with that.
So even for that though, to be discouraged at those sort of things, like you don't know what the reward or like the lesson that you learn, you almost never anticipate. And like this is like kind of cheesy, but I always think about when Steph Curry went like the first game that he ever shot 0% from the court, 3 points. The very next game he broke the league record. So it was like, so it's like if you got super discouraged and like you stuck with that. I mean, obviously he wasn't like, fuck, dude, like I'm gonna go, quit and So it's like he obviously.
And on the other hand, like up until whatever year it was, like he also wasn't the Steph Curry we know.
Right.
Like you have to, your efforts have to blow up at some point.
Yeah. And
you just have to do it.
What just happened is like it's all behind the scenes is what matters.
Yeah.
Everything's behind the scenes. So, and it's also like, it's more damaging if you broadcast what you're doing at all times. Like if you say you're like weekly, like it's cool if you hit milestones and you tell people like that's cool, that's what's up, like let people know you're proud of yourself. But like if you say every single week that you lost another pound, first of all, the feeling that you get from them congratulating you is going to go down over time. But when they originally do that, that's getting instant gratification for people like, yeah, dude, that's what's up. So it's like,
Right.
if you condition yourself to do it behind the scenes and have your self-respect be like your guiding factor, and then, you know, still kind of maintain a healthy level of, you know, what you feel from, you know, people hyping you up, that's huge. So, I mean, I don't think there's like a single pro athlete who, you know, has like Instagram lives and them practicing every single day. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
that's just like, they know that's why they're like, you know, like top of the line players.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people don't get that. And I mean, it's just unfortunate because we live in the times where, we want to, I mean, this is also going to sound pretty trite, but like, we want to build highlight reels and we want to like kind of project a persona that we are productive and we are doing cool shit. But, like, those likes are going to stop hitting someday. Like, you might get the same amount, but like, they're not going to hit like they used to. So the most
on the other hand too, like, we also live in a time where everything is like subjective, where if you're 300 pounds, they're like, yeah, you're going to be judged probably by most people, but there are other people who tell you, like, I mean, you're beautiful in your own way and it's fine to be like that. Like,
Yep.
If you didn't lose weight and would have stayed like this for 20 more years, you might be dead, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
And I
motto.
think it's, because back in the day before the internet, like, unless you had people in your local community who were also like very self-hating and gave up on their goals, you would think that that's, I mean, it's not normal to be that way, and it's not healthy to be that way. So
Yeah.
You have these communities of people, I mean, it's all crab mentality, it's misery loves company, and they have tried to convince themselves and try to convince other people that they're happy, and like, join me in my misery, let's make like an identity out of this, and let's act like we're doing something good by painting this, like building a straw man or building an effigy and then doing that. So so there's so many things that can go wrong. But if you keep telling yourself that you're doing the right thing and this is what's healthy for you, and you kind of minimize the peanut gallery, then you're like, you should be good for the most
Was
part.
that so? Do you remember the time like where the cause for doing it switched from vanity, if it ever was, switched over to, I actually genuinely care about like my health and like I'm interested in it?
It was when, this is a story that I haven't told anyone. Damn. So, well, there are a few things. So one is that
good content.
It was when I first started to see like I actually had like a figure and I actually had like bones in my face. Like, it wasn't like I was just like I was like, well, I can look like a normal human being. That's what's up. So like there was that like, sort of feedback, but it was things like being comfortable in airplane seats. I'm like, this world isn't built for overweight people. Like, it's just not. But so the world is more accommodating for you if you're thin. I mean, it's more accommodating for you if you're healthy. But overall, it's just like, it's not that like fat people are like inherently like bad, but like even like the strain on the healthcare system, like it's like over 190 billion per year. But this story that I'm gonna tell is like sad, and I'm not gonna tell like who was with me. But we were on a plane one time, and there was a dude who was sitting next to us in the window seat, and he was tweeting, and I felt really bad because that was at my heaviest weight, and the person next to me is also pretty big, and I just felt like shit. Like, I mean, during that time, I always felt like I was inconveniencing people, so like I was just a major inconvenience and just like a sore thumb, basically. So I already had that going on, and this is the only time. Well, this is one of like a few times after, like, during college that shit actually was confirmed to me, because in middle school and high school, like, people like outright told me that they didn't like me because they were fat or because I was fat, and if they didn't say that, that would be the only thing that would, like, making fun of me for being fat would be the only thing that would come out of their mouth, and they would just treat me like shit. But this dude on the plane who was sitting next to me, he was tweeting, and I mean, I'm kind of a hoe for looking at his phone when he was tweeting, but he was tweeting, and he said, I paid $100 to upgrade my seat just to sit next to the two fattest people on the plane. And he said something way worse than that. Like, he described us way worse. And this dude tweeted it on his business account with his real name. He was like a realtor. And
That's
like, again, like this
oh
was not
God.
with like cancel culture and everything. Even if it wasn't, I'm not the one to cancel. Like that dude.
Bad business practice. So that guy's an idiot.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's tweeting like, dude, like you're gonna reap what you sow. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But for me to see that dude tweet that, and like, of course, like in an act of self-hatred, when we landed, I, looked up his Twitter, and like 3 people like replied to him and like, oh bro, that's the worst. And I was like, I felt inhumane. I was like, I don't feel like I'm actually like a human being to some people. And this is at the time when there was a subreddit called r/fat people hate, and those people on that subreddit were fucking pricks. Like they would say some of the worst things, and it was all dehumanizing. And
Yeah.
and it was just, I was just like, I'm not here to gain. I'm not here to win over these types of people who view me like this, but I need to prove to myself at like a very high level of my own self-respect that like not only can I like rise above like my current like, because there were no conditions that made me that weight. I needed to prove to myself that what they were saying was not true because I didn't know anything else. I was like, I existed this way, so it's like, if I really do have the effort, let's see, so for them to say that about me and like dehumanize me, there was all these other factors, but there was almost like a chip on my shoulder at that point. It was like, you know what, like I don't like the way that you describe that about me. Like I'm not going to say like I'm Michael Jordan or anything, but like every single time, like over time, any event that someone tried to be competitive with me, like all bets were off, and I was so focused on me, like, okay, like since you doubted me, like I'm going to go off. And obviously that's only like with like, I mean, you can only do so much if you're not like a sports player, but like any sort of like small bet, or whether it be like something like weight loss, I saw that as the same thing where it's like, if you're going to like view me like that, let me prove to myself that I am not that.
See, that's like, whether it's like a competitiveness or whatever, like a competitive edge, I think that one of the other things, like we've kind of touched on a few principles of altering your physical self. But I think one of those things is what you mentioned, like in your story about being on the plane, is that like you were smart enough and honest enough to consciously recognize that you had a problem.
Right.
When I think most people don't.
Yeah, there's
like we're skinny.
They would have let that hit them on a deep level. They would have wanted to confront it, and they would have sought information that would have told them otherwise. But for me, I'm like, it's not worth it to do all that stuff. Like, it's just like, but this was before I was losing weight. So actually, no, this was before I was losing weight, and I recalled it. Like I forgot about it, but I recalled it. Like when I was 50 pounds down, when I was seeing those things, and I'm like, wait a minute, I do actually remember when people didn't view me as a human being, who wouldn't even offer me the opportunity to respect me. It was like, respect's not even a thing. So I recalled that, and I'm like, okay. So again, like if you have the opportunity, for me, it was like, now that I understand that if I have the opportunity to control my conditions and I am not comfortable where I am, I don't have the right to bitch to myself about like what it is. Like I should go and do something about it.
Do you see that? Do you see like, maybe not that situation specifically, but like that sort of treatment? Do you see that as like a blessing now in a way?
Yeah, like I don't think fat shaming is good. Like I don't think like bullying. I don't think bullying is like something that should be like protected. Like I don't think it's sacred. Like I don't think you should bully other kids.
Yeah.
But there should be like a level of
external peer pressure.
Yeah, like for example, like even if it's from your doctor, like my doctor growing up never told me about my weight. And she even told me when I was like 275, like 5'8", she was like I don't think you look 275, like you're good. And I was like, what? I was like, but then my doctor nowadays, even though like the last time I saw her I was like 210, and she was like, yeah, she's like, you look great, like your weight's still going down, but you can still lose like, X amount of pounds. Like she was being honest with me. She was like, yeah, like you're healthy and everything, but you can still lose this weight.
That's awesome.
It's people like you can't surround yourself with yes men who are like, hey man, like you're already good
not
enough.
Peer pressure, but like
yeah,
accountability.
Yeah, you're kind of phasing out there. Wait, hold up. You good? Oh, you're back. Okay.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah, you phased out. Yeah, I mean, it's like accountability where, I mean, like I said before, you want to like minimize the amount of like external sources of accountability and affirmation, but you want people to check you. Like I don't want friends in my circle to see me dwindling away and to not say anything. Like, if I were to say something that was like blatant, like even if I said something like you don't necessarily agree with, like for you to say nothing, that's fine. You're like, okay, that's fine. Like that's what CK thinks, but it's for me to be like, I'm gonna live my life this way, but I'm being blatantly dishonest with myself, and that you see that it's making me unhappy and it's taking up all my mental space, but I'm trying to convince myself otherwise. Like, as a friend, like as a real friend, I think it's sort of your duty to step up and have that hard conversation to be like, dude, like I can see how much this is negatively affecting you. Mm-hmm. And for you to be like, you know, so I think it's like accountable, but like you want your friends to be happy. So like,
yeah,
I think it's just about that.
Do you think
I don't know if that answered your question, but
you were talking about how like there needs to be like a degree of accountability with like your peers or between your peers.
Yeah.
And that you want people who you care about and who say they care about you to hold you accountable in a way. Do you think that's more important than coming to like an individual reconciliation about what needs to be done yourself?
No, because I think these things are impossible to start by peer pressure. Like, doesn't matter how many times my parents told me to lose weight. Like, again, like health was never an issue. So there was like a thing where it's all like dormant fuel that will be used for when you actually do flip the switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. But I don't think honestly, like you might succeed, but it'll never actually hit you. That will never like click like on a deep level. I don't know if that answered your question or not. Like I'm trying to see if I can say it a little bit better.
I'm thinking about like the instances or the reasons that motivated me to start working on my physical fitness, and I think it's the same. Okay. It's like I remember probably in high school, I was tall in high school, and then probably early on in college too when I was still skinny. But I was tall, and everywhere I'd go, people were like, "Oh my God, you're tall," and if anything came after that, it'd be, "Oh my God, you're skinny." Like, yeah. And I was never like, "Oh my God, that person, like, they said I'm skinny," and like, I mean, it's first of all, it's true.
That's the fact of the matter.
But it was never like the cause for like going to the gym or anything consistently. Like, right. Like the way you said it is perfect. Is that like it was like an external or like an internal fuel or something?
Yeah, like like those moments will come to you when you feel like maybe I don't need to lose weight to look better. Maybe I don't need to lift to look better. But then you look back and you're like, wait, do I want to go back to when these people called me skinny? Because the fact of the matter is I am skinny. So it's like I'm not.
Or I think, yeah, but I think maybe they even come to you when you've superseded that condition.
What do you mean?
Like when you're like curling, like skinny, can't even pick up a 15-pound dumbbell and do a max set. Now doing like 45 pounds for like the middle set or some shit. Like it's just like you achieve a new level, and when you look back on those things with fuel, but knowing that like that's not you anymore. Like you're better than.
So you're saying that it's not effective anymore? Or are you saying that is effective?
No, I think it is, but I definitely think it's effective. But I think the reason why it is, I don't know how to say it. It's like, it's like when you reflect about something and you look back, like knowing what you know now, like in hindsight, like it's just like, it's effective because you realize it never should have bothered you in the first place because you're better than that now.
Oh, okay, I see you.
Or you always had the potential to be better than that.
Right.
Does it make sense? I don't know if I.
Because then you have that level of self-respect where you don't you're completely like emotionally indifferent. Like that doesn't affect you on an emotional level anymore. So it's like not only did you supersede that physically, but you superseded that in terms of like the way you responded to it and how you valued them saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's huge.
Yeah, and just like in general, like maintaining exercise, like an exercise regimen, like the endorphins that you get and like your overall like mood baseline is just so high that alone, like you go like a day or two without it and you feel so shitty and you're like,
dude,
yeah.
It's like so you're gonna start lifting now, so I remember telling you about it, but like I remember when I started lifting, like it was such a shameful like feeling to do a leg day and then you like throw up and almost pass out because of the lactic acid buildup. Like people need to know that your body is supposed to be able to handle like at a natural baseline of performance. Like it's supposed to be able to perform at a certain level, like for you to be considered like a truly healthy human being.
Yeah.
And a lot of people never experience that.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't get over that hump. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. So
I vividly remember that. Like my body's not even naturally capable of moving itself.
Yeah.
Like it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, some people have like beginner's luck, but for the most part, like it's a really, really, really tough start for a lot of people. And I don't know if that's a rite of passage, if that's just the way it is, but
I think it is.
Yeah, it's just the way it
that's your buy-in.
Yeah, it really is.
You have to experience how hard it is because it's theoretically going to get easier.
Right, so it's like, it's a motivating factor too, where it's like the worst is kind of over. Now I just have to like maintain this. That's huge.
You just got to keep going.
Yeah, and then that's also the part where it's like if you're all in, you're going to realize that like getting this over with, like you don't want to like dip your toes in. You want to rip the Band-Aid off, basically. Just jump in, go all in, change your environment. Yeah. So that's what's up. So that wraps up everything. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, check out Nick's website, Holy Human. I'm going to put it in the description below. So go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, that's it. So
thanks for having me, brother.
Peace, dog.